A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone present here today. A very warm welcome to Singapore, Old Passion, Malaysia, Singapore, Malaysia, and Global. My name is Jeannie Tan, your host today. Old Passion was formed in November 2020 and run by a group of dedicated host team members. We had our first trial webinar on the 23rd of September 2021, and our first public webinar was on the 30th of September 2021, under the mentorship of Dr. Bill Williams. We meet on every Thursday. The mission of All Passion is to ignite passion for humanity, to nurture mindset and leadership for passion and Oblast, and to form passion groups for good causes. And today, our speaker is our regular mentor, Brother Jeffrey Morlock. And before I pass it to Brother Jeffrey, Mabel, would you like to take over the next segment?
Yes, let me, as usual, play an intro song, which today again will be Brother Jeffrey's song called On Purpose. Ready?
We've been drifting down the river, letting others guide the way, losing sight of what we're made for in the noise of what they say. But there's a spark in every heart where your dreams are meant to grow. Take a step to claim your story, put your inner light aglow. Set a goal, make it yours. Watch your spirit start to soar. Feel the fire in your soul, take control. Behold, let's live on purpose of every choice we make. Forgive those burdens for all our hearts' sake. With kindness we're paving a road towards truth. On purpose, let's walk through this life with a view. We've held grudges like they're anchors, keeping us in heavy chains. Every memory stirs the thunder, every scar replays the pain. But you can write a letter to the past, let it go into the breeze. Find your peace in sweet surrender, set your heart and mind at ease. Let it fade, let it heal. Find the calm in what you feel. Trust gentle way, free yourself, be brave. Let's live on purpose with every choice we make. Forgive those burdens for all our hearts' sake. With kindness we're paving a road towards truth. On purpose, let's walk through this life with a view. Every smile you share, every hand you hold, lights a fire in this world, makes our spirits bold. Success ain't just a crown, it's the love we give. In the bonds we build, that's the way to live. So reach out to one another with a word, a gentle deed. Every act of care we offer plants a tiny hopeful seed. We lift each other higher, happiness our sweet reward. In the joy of giving freely, we're connected, we're restored. Let's live on purpose with every choice we make. Forgive those burdens for all our hearts' sake. With kindness we're paving our road towards truth. On purpose, let's walk through this life with a view. So choose your path with courage, let those grudges fade away. Spread compassion like a river every moment, every day. On purpose we're rising, our hearts alive and new. Together let's live out this life with a view.
Live life on purpose. Again, I love the song and the wordings. On purpose. our movements, abbrev abbreviation, some of the words to describe us is big, bold, beautiful, shared dreams. This is what corporate gives to us, our dreams, shared dreams, but big, bold, beautiful dreams we ought to have. Tonight, again, we have, as GD says, our regular speaker and also a host team member, Jeffrey Morlock. Jeffrey, again, no stranger to us, but he brings a heartfelt voice to his writing and to his songs, shaped by real life experiences in military communities and a family centered life. His work blends emotional honesty with a touch of mystery, capturing how ordinary moments often carry the deepest meaning. Tonight, he's sharing again a chapter from his book, To Change the World, Change Your Thought. And the topic today is habits, Habits, habits. So, Jeffrey, all yours, enlighten us. Habits, good habits, bad habits, take over.
We've
Wow.
all got habits, don't we? I love it. I hope you forgive my voice. It's a little bit scratchy. I'm not sure
Uh-huh.
what's going on with that, but I think we'll be okay. I appreciate so much that you guys are here and that we can share on this platform. Mabel, thank you,
Mm,
and thank you to all you folks that are making this a continual thing and helping us all to get together while we wait for some other great
mm,
things to happen.
mm.
I'm hoping Saturday we're gonna get some direction that's gonna really lift us up as well.
Yes.
Talking about habits today,
Mm,
you know, what if some of the small daily things that we did every day could really transform our reality, like a lot of our habits do, right? Um, Years ago, I'd wake up in the morning like so many other folks, and just my thoughts would already be racing into the day, probably left over from the night before.
mm,
And Dr. Joe Dispenza describes this as going through the day like we do, doing so many things that we did before. We have these habits. We wake up, we shower, we go brush our teeth, we grab a cup of Joe or juice, or maybe you grab a morning paper if you're old school, things like that. Um, you then take a shower, you get ready, you go to work, do the same things you do all day long at work. Then you come home, you do it all over again. Basically,
mm.
it's what we're saying. You might watch TV or doom scroll on some social media or something like that. But then we go back to bed, and then we get up the morning the next day and we do it all over again, because these habits are running like cycles in our lives. And with me, one of the things that really helped me to shift was when I started a new habit, and that habit was thinking about things that I was grateful for, right? That happened throughout the day, positive things that happened throughout the day. And I would lay in, before bed, before falling asleep, and think about these things. So I was also mindful about being thankful in the situations, no matter what they were. I think biblically that's very sound. I think there's a verse that says somewhere to be thankful in everything, and I know that I was trying to do that to the best of my ability, realizing that circumstances can always be worse than what I'm experiencing. So before long, my whole mindset kind of shifted and opportunities started to present themselves. Before long, we were doing all sorts of things, and even this webinar here and this platform, as well as many others associated with what we're doing, popped up, and we've really had a good time of it. Well, these habits that we have, they form the roots that anchor the thought seeds that we've talked about previously, right, in the last couple months, and they turn our intentions into our reality because of well, for the most part, I think it's repetition, but we'll get into that. Again, according to Dr. Dispenza, our brain gives us access to this magnificent record of the past, right? It organizes every experience that we have, things like waking up on the same side of the bed, grabbing our favorite coffee mug, following the same routines, those sorts of things. And it puts them into neural circuits that are hardwired by the repetition that I mentioned. There was a guy named Charles Duhigg. He explains that habits are automatic responses that are shaped by a loop. And I know that we've talked about loops before, that we kind of get stuck into. But a habit loop is one of a cue. In other words, it's something that's cueing us to do something, and then it's followed by a routine. And once we do that routine, we get some kind of reward for it, right? But those habits, they govern up to about 95% of everything we do every day by the age of 35. Now, James Clear, who was the author of Atomic Habits, he adds that every action, in a sense, is a vote for the type of person that we want to become. So today, I hope we're going to get into some of the, explore how these habits are formed, how they define our past, how we can break their hold that they have on us. And a lot of times we don't even realize that they've got a hold on us. They just run and we just follow them, like good little followers. And hopefully we'll figure out how to build and create perhaps some new ones so that we can get the future that we want. Now, there's a trap of having old habits. I've talked about this before, how our day falls into familiar grooves, if you will, waking up every morning at the same time, breakfast, shower, brush your teeth, out to go to work, routines, right? It's the same routines day in and day out. Get back home from work, you settle down, you have dinner, you go to the TV or the PC or social media, you get tired, you go to bed, and you get up and do it all over again. It's repeated, right? All these things are repeated, and we see the same people in the same places, and all of these shapes the brain's wiring in a sense, so that by the time we're 35 or 36, 38, science says 95% of all the actions that we do are automatic. They're driven by the subconscious habits that are acting like a computer program, of old beliefs, emotions, and reactions. And these patterns start with our thoughts, 90% of which repeat every day. In other words, 90% of the thoughts that you had yesterday, you're going to have again today. And I know that sounds bad, but it's been proven out by science, by people like Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza and quite a few others. And our body masters these thoughts like muscle memory, almost, becoming the subconscious mind. It keeps you in the loops of familiar places, familiar faces, familiar feelings. Even when we really want to change and we find it's really, really hard to do, it's really hard to get out of the drudgery or out of the groove of this habit that we have, right? Buddhist teachings warn us that clinging to routines breeds suffering, and a lot of us can feel that in our habits. While Proverbs, which I love quoting the Bible, Proverbs 4:23 says that we need to guard our heart because everything about life flows from it. So our environment also reinforces this program that we have, this loop, right? Trapping us in a nice, cozy little unfulfilling rut, if you will. James Clear, the guy that wrote the book Atomic Habits, he reminds us that environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. And, if your phone's home screen is filled with social media apps, you're going to scroll. I mean, we all do it. And if your phone's or maybe your kitchen counter. It's always got cookies on it. You know, look, you walk by every time you see a cookie, you're gonna reach and you go grab that cookie. You're gonna eat them, right? To break free from these things, we need to create our surroundings will support or will more easily support our intentions. So if I'm wanting to lose a few pounds, and every time I walk into the kitchen, I'm looking at my favorite oatmeal, cranberry, and raisin cookies, and they're just over there yelling, "Eat me, eat me." I should probably put those where I don't see them, so I'm not reaching for them quite as often. Um, having said that, I'm just saying that we need to create our surroundings, our environment to match what we want in our head. Um, if you want to read more, for instance, uh, leave a pillow that or leave a book that you're interested in right next to your pillow. You know, if you want to meditate, set up a corner where maybe got some trees, maybe a little soft music, maybe a little water flow sound, something that is conducive to meditation. Um, in order for us to escape the habit trap in a way, we need some critical thinking so that we can spot old habits, at least the habits that we want to change, the ones holding us back. And we got to figure out which ones are anchoring us to our past as opposed to fostering for us an avenue for making our dreams come true. Now, rewiring through repetition. We know how we sip our coffee every morning, or some folks pop up and have a protein shake or whatever, or anything else, for that matter. All that stuff is second nature to us, and that's our brain at work, right? Turning thoughts into reality through repetition. And as Dr. Dispenza, his whole framework, as a matter of fact, shows us, repeating habits rewires the brain through its neuroplasticity, and it forms new pathways to make success feel effortless. And I would add, not only does it make success feel effortless, but it makes following even bad habits feel pretty effortless. We just do it and it seems to work, whether we want to do it or not. It's just like planting thought seeds that grow into our reality. That's the habits we're talking about. And each repeated habit speaks to the subconscious in a way, reinforcing our identity. And it says, this is who I am, right? Habits drive choices, they drive behaviors, and those behaviors drive experiences and shape the future. We've talked about these things, and I experienced that myself firsthand. A small gratitude habit that I have, remembering the positive events of the day before bed, it rewired me to notice the good things and to stay more positively minded throughout the day, and even expect and look forward to some of the good things that I knew were going to be happening. Dr. Not Dr. Charles Duhigg's research, it confirms too that habits form through the cue, routine, reward loop, and that's really what makes them stick. We've also talked about the RAS, the reticular activating system, that once we kind of pause and look for more positive things, we actually start seeing more of those. I think we touched on that probably, may have been last month. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But anyway, when we are looking at changing habits, when we are wanting to do something other than what we're doing, right? To get away from the familiarity of a particularly bad habit, what we hit is resistance. And resistance to forming or reforming or even reshaping habits is quite real. If any of us here have ever tried to drop a bad habit, our subconscious will cling to that as an old emotional pattern. It craves, our subconscious craves familiarity, and that goes in essence back to the ego and the fight flight response, trying to keep us safe, and basically says, hey, if what I'm doing is very familiar, then I know it's not going to be able to hurt me. So why am I going to change it? But it craves that familiarity. Now, Dr. Caroline Leaf tells us that you can't change what you won't acknowledge, right? So you got to first acknowledge, hey, I've got this habit and it's not doing me any good. And once you do that, then you're able to really go, oh, I really need to change this. So now I use some critical thinking and figure it out. Now, the Taoist wisdom kind of likens habits and the looping of the habits to water flowing, which carves paths. And I guess you could probably kind of say that's analogous to Dr. Dispenza saying that it forms new neural pathways in your brain, in your thinking, so that it's a pathway that becomes rather easily executed every time you go into that habit. By building small positive habits, like attaching gratitude to something that you do every day, like brushing your teeth, doing this will very subtly rewire your whole thought process to be joyful, to be in appreciation, to be positive minded, and it bridges the gap between what our intention is and what our reality is, and it just kind of smooths it out and makes it a lot better, simply because it's a higher vibration, if you will. Heart math research, I've quoted them a lot of times in my books, and that shows that positive habits like gratitude, always being in appreciation and looking at the best, it creates heart brain coherence, and that improves our emotional resilience and clarity. And when repeated enough, those actions align, obviously, in the quantum field, which we've talked about, reinforcing rather, reality creation. We talked a little bit about that last month. There was a guy, his name was Viktor Frankl. He's an Australian neurologist. He's a philosopher and a psychiatrist. And he said, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose. He's saying this because sometimes the most powerful habit isn't a new one. It's the pause right before we get into there. It's using that pause. What he says is there's a space that is where our actual transformation lives. You see, recognizing a habit as a habit makes it a choice. So it's no longer a habit. A habit is something you do that you don't realize you're doing. But once you realize you're doing it, it's no longer a habit. Now it becomes a choice. As a choice, it's not something that runs automatically on autopilot. You're choosing it, right? And this is because most habits operate beneath the surface, like the background software happening on your computer. There's a program that you can look at in your computer, Task Manager, and if you open that up, you'll think, oh, well, I've got 3 or 4 programs open, but if you open Task Manager up, it'll show you about 150 processes that are running in the background. And these things take a lot of memory and such. So that's kind of like what we're talking about here. Most habits operate beneath the surface, like this kind of background software. We don't consciously decide to check our phone first thing in the morning. It just kind of happens. I do that. I roll over, and the first thing I do is I reach for my glasses, and the second thing I reach my phone and I just check to see if anybody left anything that I need to respond to. Did my kids leave something? Did my granddaughter leave something? And I have to laugh every time because that is so true. I don't consciously think, oh, I need to get my glasses and check my. I just automatically reach for it. I mean, it's still dark, but I know right on that place where my phone is, and I know where those glasses are on my bedside table. So, it just happens. But the moment that we recognize that behavior as a habit, now it's a choice. And I know that I choose to do that every morning. So I'm getting a little better in that. Now I'll get up and I'll go out and I'll make sure the coffee's going and I'll get things going. And then after a few minutes, I might come back in and pick up my phone. Where was I? That awareness, getting back to what we were talking about with that pause, that awareness that we have, the moment that we recognize, that behavior as a habit and brings it into our awareness, that awareness is the birthplace of choice. It's that pause, and I'm kind of struggling to make sure that I get this across, because before you execute or go into a habit, there's going to be a pause that there's a little space of time where you can be aware, what, I'm about to go into a habit here. I'm going to go brush my teeth, or, I'm going to reach for that phone or whatever, where suddenly you're no longer a passenger. You're not doing this thing automatedly, right? You're now the driver. You stopped and said, I see this habit. I'm aware of this habit. And because at that moment, you're no longer, because you're the driver. I mean, one of the biggest reasons that we have for not wanting to change our habits is fear of the unknown, right? But as we've talked about in previous webinars, that's fear. That fear is just your ego, and it's just the old emotional habits talking to you, because it's very familiar. And it's like, if it's familiar and it's not going to hurt me, then why do I want to change it? But if you flip that upside down, see the unknown as a chance to grow, then we're free to shape some new paths. And to that end, if we, in this this pause that I'm talking about, if we insert some micro pauses into the day, right? So in other words, let me give you an example. If you pick up your phone and you go to do a text, before reaching for the phone, right? Before reacting to any kind of a stress or anything, before reacting to anything really, or moving into any kind of a habitual pattern, take that moment to pause, to just think for a second or reflect. These pauses are the cracks where light gets in. Here we go. Think of it like this. Maybe you're walking down a path every day, right? Same path. You go on your 1 mile walk every day, and you got your headphones in, and you're moving, right? You're doing these. When you're on that path, when you get ready to go on that path every day, you usually do things without noticing things, and you just keep walking it. But if you pause and say, hey, wait a minute, why am I walking this way? Or why am I continually doing this? There's so many other things that I can do. I can still do my walk, but there's more than one way to do this. It now becomes an awareness for you, and you can switch it up. You can do things, and you can change habits in this way, by pausing and reflecting on what it is that you're doing. You kind of open the door to choosing a different route. And I know that route and path and walking, it's all, but in the bigger sense of things, what I'm talking about is your habits, the habits that you have. You can question them, and you can change them and think about them, and you can use some critical thinking that says, I really don't need to be doing this, or there's a better way for me to be doing this that will help me to become more of what I want to become, instead of just kind of blindly, routinely following into these habits every day that I do. Building freedom in this way, because habits aren't just routines. Habits can be the bridges to your dream life, connecting these thought seeds that we've talked about to the quantum field, to endless possibilities. And you've got it all up here. You know how to do it. You can change anytime you want to. It's just that we get into these habits and sometimes we don't think about change. We think, this is safe. It feels familiar. I like doing this. It's all good. Hey, every repeated action that we do, it tells the universe, hey, this is me, right? And I saw this in my gratitude habit. It was so funny. Going over the positive things that happened during the day nightly sparks for me a lot of new things that popped up. I started finding new things, and new things seemed to chase me down. You know, Dr. Bruce Lipton, 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 a wonderful man. He did a book that was called The Biology of Belief. It'll blow your mind if you ever. I mean, I've never thought about how you could look at something like that. But anyway, his work shows habits can even shift your cells, the cells in your body, right? And it aligns even your cells with your vision. What your cells even change as a result of what your vision is. Dr. Dispenza explains it, saying that consistent habits rewire the brain to vibe with the quantum field, and that's what makes dreams real. And our habits unite the mind, the body, and the energy, and that grounds all of our vision. We've all heard of stacking the cool, right? Man, Mr. Mufara, he brought that out. It's a tech term that we all kind of took a good liking to. Well, we can stack habits too. We can stack a habit, right? Like thinking, I'm drawing abundance to me in different ways as I'm brushing my teeth. Stacking little habits like this can create change that feels pretty natural. Heart math research shows that when we have gratitude, especially, and I'm going to keep harping on gratitude and appreciation, because that is a real high vibration that leads to a lot of other positive things in our lives. But gratitude and appreciation habits, they actually boost our brain coherence, amplifying clarity and helping us to understand things a little better. But small actions that we stack up, they build our future, one choice at a time. Genesis 11:6 talks about wisdom being united in purpose, and that wisdom also applies to us as an individual. I think it says it's talking about the Tower of Babel and the people that were building the Tower of Babel, how they were unified in speech and in purpose, right? And it says basically, hey, if as one people speaking the same language, they're going to do this, then nothing they plan to do is going to be impossible for them. So that it literally had divine intention, had to come down and otherwise they're going to do it. Now imagine applying that same principle inwardly, right? Just as a group united in purpose becomes unstoppable, so does an individual. So does each one of us when our thoughts and our emotions and our beliefs and our actions are all aligned, right? This is our inner team, if you will, our mind, our body, and spirit. When these three things all speak the same language and pursues the same vision, and they're not against each other, then we become a force of nature. Our habits, our intentions, and our energy field begin to harmonize, and that's when our manifestation in the future that we're envisioning really starts to come at us and manifest. Now, in practical terms, this means that every time you practice gratitude and visualization or heart-brain coherence, you're strengthening that bridge between thought and creation, manifestation. And the key is emotionally embodying. We've talked about thoughts with emotion, emotionally embodying that experience, because feelings act like the carrier waves that signal reality to your body and to the quantum field. And this means our internal coherence equals external power. And that's what heart math calls coherence. When our heart and brain are in sync, so to speak, our body enters a state of optimal performance. And it's not just emotional wellness, it's actually energetic alignment. And our cells, like Dr. Bruce Lipton was talking about, respond to this alignment. Our our nervous system, it calms down, it reacts to it. Our intuition sharpens, and we become magnetic to the outcomes, if you will, that we desire, that we want. Now, Dr. Dispenza echoes this in his teachings, in his books, and he says when your thoughts and your feelings match your vision, they signal the quantum field with clarity. In other words, it's sharp and concise, it's focused, and that certainly helps us. And when that happens, when we have that clarity and that focus, that's when synchronicities start showing up. And synchronicities are just little things that show up in your lives one after the other every day, that all kind of stair step in the direction that you're going, where your passion is and what it is that you want to manifest. That's when the synchronicities all start showing up, and that's when this change really starts to feel effortless. Now, again, the Taoist wisdom says small steps align you with the universal flow. And our habits are the roots that ground our dreams in the quantum soil, if you will, that we talked about last month with the thought seeds and stuff. So if you really want to stack the cool, take and combine a new habit with an old one. Like I'm drawing abundance into my life, and make sure it's in the present, right? Not like I want abundance, but I'm drawing it into my life. I am abundance, while you're brushing your teeth. I use that a lot, because when I brush my teeth or when I'm gargling or something, and I'm in my head, I'm going through all sorts of neat things. One of my favorite ones is, I am expecting so many good things today, and I'm going to see them when they approach me, and then and it's crazy how it really does happen like that. Combining habits like this, right, in a way, it stacks our routines, right, and it makes the change feel more natural, and it's not hard to meet with it. When our habits align with our vision, synchronicities begin to appear, right? You're going to meet that right person. You're going to have that opportunity land in your inbox. You're going to come across that sale item that you needed, and you're going to save money on it, or something. They're not coincidences. They're confirmations that you're on the right track. Deepak Chopra, an Indian author, Indian American author, excuse me. He's a new age, wonderful man, new age guru. He's also an alternative medicine advocate. He says synchronicity is choreographed by a great pervasive intelligence that lies at the heart of nature. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that, man, I just love the way that he says that, because our habits are the rhythm that invites that choreography. Now, to habit stack, in a way, you just take a current habit. I'll take me. I love I have Italian sweet cream, and I put about a quarter of a cup of that, and then I fill it up, and I love my cup of coffee in the morning. So I'll use having a cup of coffee as a current habit. The new habit is me, when I'm drinking my coffee, every time I sip it, I say, I am confident. Or there's a new string that I've started that I absolutely love that says, I am trusting in divine timing. I am a stable son of peace. And only love has authority here. And I know that's a mouthful for you, but I'm finding that really does open me up and gets my whole mind in the right in the right frame of mind, if I could put it to say that, right? Now, that habit loop, right? The cue for me is having the coffee. The routine is saying what it is that I'm saying, and the reward for that is what does it do to my mindset, and how do I feel afterwards? So when I say that the habit loop, cue, return, routine, and reward, that's what I'm referring to. Just to make it easier, your cue is whatever your habit is. When you begin that habit, stack something else with it, so you get a reward, and that reward is how you feel. Generally, it's how you feel afterwards, and that makes that change sustainable, right? As research shows us that habits can form solidly within, like, from 21 to 66 days, depending on the complexity of it. And again, Mr. Clear, the author, advises this process uh, to start small and to stack habits onto existing routines, because it just makes it easier. And pairing a new habit with an old habit helps to shift the old habit in the direction that you want to. Now, the trick to do this all is starting small and keeping it simple, right? Keep it easy. If you miss it one day, hey, don't sweat the load. Pick it up the next day and keep right on going like you didn't miss it up. Just pick it back up. Be kind to yourself when you do that, right? Just give yourself a gentle nudge and keep on growing, and think of your habit as a seed that's sprouting, in your dreams of life. And I think I probably talked enough. I'll stop right there. If you have any questions, or if I can help you, let me know, but hand it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Tony, Pastor Tony.
Excellent presentation, um, King Jeffrey. As you were speaking, I got to thinking about a lot of habits that I used to have, some I'm still working on. And years ago, because of so much happening in life, I used to aggravate people because I always had a negative response. And I was telling Dr. T, there was a sister in my church, and she was trying to encourage me, and she says, "You need to be more positive." And I would say, "Yeah, I'm positively failing at this," and just annoy her. But then another sister had brought a lot of things to my attention. And so I realized I had to change. And so when you were saying, first of all, you can't change unless you know what it is that you have to change. And that was just right on. And it had gotten to the point where, and even not too long ago, there was a speaker that had presented Who Told You That? And which knocked on a lot of areas. And so one of the things that I had perceived to change from those years ago and continue to build on and keep it a habit and strengthening the good habits is having a positive confession. Because when
Mm,
he made that comment, "Who told you that?" And I think about it, and there are a lot of things that go through our minds, and we worry about a lot of things that don't exist yet, exist yet. And although there are some that exist, but then in Joshua, it talks about how this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate day and night. And meditation means to always keep in the forefront of your mind. And so if I hear something and then I get to asking, now wait a minute, who's saying that? If it's not part of God's word and what he says concerning us, then it's null and void. So I'm going to confess what his word says about me rather
mm,
than confess, a lie that doesn't even pertain to me. And also in Philippians, talking about these things that are of a good report. Think on these things that are true and
mm,
honest and all
Mm,
of that. And so all of that was
mm,
just rising up as
mm,
you were presenting and speaking and reminding me
mm,
and it's fortifying. You know, when we have speakers such as you, King Jeffrey, and Queen Dr. T, and Queen Faith, and Queen Debbie, and others, as you guys come forth and present, it's enforcing what God is trying to do in our lives and bringing to light the things that we need to change and give to Him. So I thank God for you. The presentation that you had
mm,
given is excellent, and I look forward to more.
mm, mm.
Wow. You bring up some good points. I love I love your confession. I had a sister and she was just annoying the tickets out of me. And a lot of times you'll find out that when people we have little triggers. And if somebody came up to me and said, you really need to, and they're starting to tell me what I need to do, that's gonna, man, my wall's gonna go up pretty quick, or it used to. I understand exactly where you're at and what you're saying. And keeping our mindset in a way that is conducive to positivity is kind of tough sometimes. One of the things that I did a long time ago, and that by that I mean several years, instead of when I'm referring to when I'm talking or referring my wife to saying my wife, instead of calling her my wife, I always refer to her as my bride. Now we've been married going on like 40 years, okay? So uh, that term is depends on what you make of it. But to me, calling her my bride keeps me in a mindset that is very, it helps me to keep my focus on loving her and appreciating her almost like a newlywed. And
Mm,
when we do things like this, and I'm not, I guess what I'm saying is you're absolutely right. When we start to look at how we think about things, and you're one there where it says, yeah, talk about these things, those things that are excellent and of good report, these things that are lovely. That's keeping our mindset up here with good thoughts, high vibrations, appreciation and gratitude, so that you're not down in the lower vibratory world, if you will. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and I love the way that you were so honest with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Dr. T.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Jeffrey, thank you for your presentation. Excellent. And I just wanted to add my little 2 cents, if you don't mind. Habits, they turn into what I call a lifestyle. And I'm pretty sure that's a word that we're all familiar with, lifestyle. And when you have habits to turn into lifestyle, and it's a negative lifestyle or positive, it opens up a door to leads to many other things. Like for example, if you have a habit, like Tony was talking about being negative, or if you have a habit of being lazy, or if you have a habit of not seeing the good, you see the glass as being half empty instead of being half full, that's going to impact every area of your life. And I call it a lifestyle, because so oftentimes because of our lifestyle, we walk in the area of fear and doubt, unbelief. We operate in an area where we don't know how to truly love because we have all these outside forces because we've allowed these habits that have become lifestyles to rule us. So those are things that we want to keep in mind. And that's why even with the gratitude, like every morning, one of the things I do when I pray, and I have to do this every time I pray, is I thank God. I say, Lord, I appreciate you. I let him know. I said, I appreciate you. And then I began to just name everything that I'm so thankful for. And like you said, Jeffrey, it could be worse. You know, you might be a person who doesn't have a home. You might be homeless. But I tell people all the time, you may be homeless, and that's a very bad place to be. I'm not making light of that. But you could be somebody, you could be a person that just lost a son like Mr. Charlie Kirk, lost his life. Now he has a widow and two small children. You could be someone that could be in a hospital bed with tubes running through you and a machine breathing for you. Do you see where I'm going with that? I mean, homelessness is bad, but at least you can get up. You can look for a place. You're in a position where you're breathing and people can help you. But when you're dead or you're on a machine, it's like where are you? There's like this. You're in a place where there's no hope. But there's so many things going on that I recognize when God blesses me every morning to wake up. That's a time to be grateful. So I thank Him for my life. I thank Him to breathe. I thank Him for my lights being on. I do that. My electricity being on. The water running. I thank God for that. There are people who don't have water, running water. There are people who don't have hot water. There are people who don't have air conditioner or heat. I mean, there's so many things that we could be grateful for. So again, as you were saying, Jeffrey, it becomes a lifestyle. So let's develop a lifestyle that will envelop helping us to become the best version of ourselves. When I get ready to speak in 2 weeks on the second Thursday, I'm going to be talking about a topic entitled "The Keys to Dying Empty." And this is one of the things that we're going to be talking about, our lifestyle, something how do we change our lifestyle habits so that we can become the best version of ourselves. And when we go to the grave, when that day comes for us, there'll be an empty corpse. It won't be full of our potential. It won't be full of our purpose. It won't be full of the mandate that God has given us. Because so many people, they leave here and they're full. And it's not a good thing, it's a bad thing because they did not fulfill what God called them to do. And oftentimes it's based on habits, or if you want to call it lifestyle. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. T. Brother Jeffrey, would you like to add anything? You're muted.
Am I on now?
Yeah, you're on. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I'd clicked that before, and absolutely. I used to tell people, my wife and I, many years ago, we had our own fitness gym. It was like a beefed up Curves, if you knew what Curves was. But we would always get these people that would come in and they'd want a quick fix. And I kept saying, you can do a diet if you want to. Diets ain't going to work. You got to have a lifestyle change. So I understand exactly what you're saying. You need to have a lifestyle change. And these changes that we make, I mean, you just illustrated very well for me your understanding that our own habits and our mindsets have impacts on those people around us, whether we want them to or not. We affect the people around us. So when we have bad habits, guess what? We're putting out bad things and we're creating bad things for other people, and we don't want to do that. So you're absolutely right. And I love the fact that you're saying, you didn't say it like this, so I'm kind of paraphrasing there, Doc, that you said, before I get into prayer, I make sure that I'm right so that I can get into prayer. I make sure that, hey, I tell God, boy, I'm here for prayer. I appreciate you. I appreciate my life. I am thankful for everything that's going on. And then once you've done that, you've got the mindset to really freely, consciously and freely get into some prayer and meditation. So I'm grateful that you put those things forward and shared those with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. T, and thank you, Sister Antoinette. And is there anyone else want to add anything? If not, then we would like to call it the night. Anyone? No? If not, how about our Singapore team? Anybody wants to say anything before I get Brother Jeffrey to give a very short closing? Brother Jeffrey? No? All right, Brother Jeffrey, back to you. Then we will call it the night. You are muted again.
There we go. Not a problem. I've enjoyed this. I thank you so very, very much. Quite frankly, I mean, habits are the foundation of our visions, right? They ground our dreams in our daily activities. And by breaking old patterns, old habits, building new ones, we can align with intentions that we have and kind of pave the way toward our new reality or expansive thinking in the very least. Hopefully, next week, we're going to be talking about, I think, how we can build on these habits and how we can deepen our evolution, if you will, into the life that we want. So thank you. I appreciate that and hope you guys have an awesome day. Perhaps we'll
Yeah.
see you Saturday on the
Yeah.
webinar.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Jeffrey.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Good night,
Good
everyone.
night,
Thank
everyone.
Good night,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Love you
you.
all.
God bless. Love you
Love
all
you all. Good
too.
night.
God bless.
God bless everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, good evening, good night.